Good morning, friends. Hello, hello. How are you this morning? Hope you're doing all right and that this morning is treating you well. I think it is a muggy and gray day here, so I hope you're able to stay out of the mugginess and enjoy some of the day. We'll get going here in 1 second. So, good morning, everyone. Mug up. Hey, Donna, good morning to you. Little morning moose. Hope everybody's doing all right. All right. Let's get going this morning. It is the 25th day of July on this Thursday at 11:11. And I'm glad you're here and a part of this journey. As we begin our journey this morning, I just want to kind of be open to some heaviness that's upon us. One of our beloveds here and often a part of 11:11, Audrey Poitras, her son passed into the next life last night, and so we've been staying close to Audrey. And please, I would ask you to keep her in our prayers. And it is a special thing that we do when we pray, and the power of that, the power of how that moves the world. The power of what we do when we lift someone up that we know is hurting or that we care about, or when we look for our own souls to be guided and to be brought. This is the 25th day of July, and it is it's a pretty special day in the calendar of things. You know, even though I understand we're good Congregationalist folks here, and in that sense that we don't hold the worship of the saints all that highly, as we are all saints of God, but in it we come today. But in the church calendar this is the day of two great saints. One is Saint James. Many of you may remember that or may know that I spent some time in the Camino de Santiago last year, which is called the Way of Santiago, Saint James. It is the way to his bones that dwell in the basement of the Cathedral of Compostela, and to descend into to spend the time in pilgrimage and to walk those 180 miles or so that we walked, and to descend into the crypts and to see the resting place of the bones of Saint James was a powerful journey for me, but it is like all of our journeys in one way or another, that it comes not that we're going to go kind of become worshipers or adorers of relics, but that we in our journeying and in our are going to take with us the very life of Christ. And as we pray today for those whose hearts are broken, as we pray for those who are being lifted up, as we pray for our world and its own brokenness, we have to remember that notion that we bring with us the love of God where we go, and that our packs and that our carrying is not that the things that we carry with us are not always helpful, but they're also not always burdens, but they are invitations. That when we carry our own sadness, it's an invitation to care for the sadness of a pilgrim next to you, because you know it. When we carry our own anxiety, we have the opportunity to minister to someone else who carries that anxiety as well. That when we carry with us our own worry of the state of the world, we get to call upon Christ to minister to that state of the world. So friends, so that is so it is the feast day of Santiago, which is very fun, but it is also the feast day of Saint Christopher. Now, post Vatican II, Saint Christopher got de-sainted, which, I don't know how that works, but he got demoted in the saint reliquary, but he's actually panoply, but he's actually one of the most popular saints. Like, you drive around in little Catholic towns like I live in, and you'll see little Saint Christophers on the dashboard. Our good Protestant friends say, long as I got my plastic Jesus sitting on the dashboard of my car, but you'll find Saint Christopher around these parts. And the story of Saint Christopher, I think, is perhaps one of the best stories for our days these days. And what Saint Christopher is, the story is this: that Saint Christopher comes to a river, and he's traveling. He is a wandering warrior, and Christopher comes to a man of great strength. In fact, he's sometimes depicted as a dog-headed man. So, which is this way in the ancient world of saying he is really a foreigner. Like, you think, he's not just, from across the river. He's not just from Swansea. We're talking really, he's not even just from Rhode Island. He's from a real foreigner. And a warrior to boot. And he comes to this river, and at the river is this small child that asks for a ride across the river. Now, the fact that this small child could speak to him and articulate, he knew something was up. But Christopher takes up the task of crossing this river and carrying this child across the river. And he places the child upon his shoulders, and they begin to wade across this river. And he realizes that the child is getting heavier, even though they just stepped into the river. And as they progress through the river, the child gets even heavier. And by the time he's at the far edge of the river, this mighty warrior who was renowned in battle and had great physical prowess and strength could barely hold up this little baby that he has placed upon his shoulders. And he looks, as he places the child on the far shore, at the child again, and realizes that the child, that it is not just any child, but it is the Christ child. And so Christopher is known, and it's why I think it's just such a neat thing that these two, St. James, our pilgrimage saint, and St. Christopher, might be both about this being bearers of Christ. And this is it, and if we think about our baptism, we think about our entry into faith, which is what the baptism is. If we think about that, and we think about it rather than this one-time good deal, I got dunked or I got sprinkled, and many of you may not even remember it because it happened when you were a baby. If you think of it in that sense, that's one thing. But if you think of it in an eternal sense, which it really is, it's that sacraments are not these acts that we do the first Sunday of every month, or not. They're not simply these things that we enter into as a child or as a moment, but they are these things that we come to and that we live out. We enter into them, and then we spend the rest of our lives living them out. Think about even the rites of the church. Think about marriage. If you take that for an example, if somebody gets married and then, it's over, right? Like, you did it, you got married, you're all done. Pack it up. No, you're just beginning. It's the beginning of a new way of being in this world. And you're going to spend, hopefully, the rest of your life working out what that looks like and what that means. Well, the sacraments are that but even more so. And so this image of Christopher crossing the river, it's not just an image of Christopher crossing the river, any old river. It is the image of what it means for us as foreigners to God. And maybe mighty in our own strength and in our own capabilities, but foreigners to God, to be invited to carry Christ into our baptism and through our baptism. Not in just a day, but in every day. That we become bearers of the Christ every step of the way. And the more we become aware of that, the more we lean into that, the more we become true bearers of that, well, actually, the heavier that feels in a way. That the more seriously we take that, the more gravity, the more, well, as our friends in AA say, more weight and depth. Not just the task of being a good person or whatever it takes on, but the very weight and depth of our lives, the very experience of our lives, the very experience of our lives through the river of time becomes weighted and full and rich and beautiful in a way that we may never have been aware of prior to that. Friends, on this high day, the 25th day of July, these two great saints, the Santiago, Saint James, and Saint Christopher, point us towards the pilgrim way. Point us to pray for those in our midst that we encounter along the way, our fellow pilgrims that we will travel with, that our paths may just cross for a moment, but whom we will carry and whom we will minister to, and whom we, in our own failings and our own shortcomings, will have the opportunity to minister to and bring with us Christ and Christ himself to those whom we encounter. And then also that we might carry Christ with us across the river of our baptism. That we might carry Christ across the river of time. That we might carry Christ through each day and each hour and each minute of our existence. That we might be kind to the person that's rude to us. That we might be patient with the one who ignores us. That we might tend the grief of one whom we find along the road that we know because we know grief itself as well. That these two high saints of the church actually point us, well, back in our own good Protestant congregational sort of way, point us back to our own sainthood and our own way of moving through this world, that we might, as the priesthood of all believers, and come to offer the sacraments of God to the world in every cup of coffee, and every muffin, and every glass of wine, and every opportunity, and every handshake, and every hug, and every hello, and every goodbye. So friends, I hope you'll pray for one another today, that you'll lift up and see yourselves on this grand and beautiful journey of St. James and St. Christopher, and that in it you might minister to your fellow pilgrims and bear the Christ child in each moment. That's my hope for all of you. Glad that you are here and with us. Do keep Audrey and her family in your prayers in the days ahead. These will be heavy days for them. Peace and grace to you all. Just want to see who's here. Hey, Jane, glad you made it. Sharon, glad you're here. Donna, great to see you. Karen, glad you're here. Peace and grace, everybody. We'll pick it up next week with another 11:11.